Hi everybody, welcome to Aimee Nolte Music. I was just teaching a lesson to Kim in Denmark this morning, and Kim is a pretty good piano player. He had figured out how to play Misty, and I think that's really cool because it's nice to be able to take a song that you know and just start playing it. I think that's what everybody kind of wants to do. I had a couple of moments with Kim where I kind of had a little I wouldn't call it an epiphany, but just some thoughts about my channel, because I have some videos that address some of the things that he needed, but I realized that I hadn't started simply enough. So anyway, let me kind of walk you through what it was like with my lesson with Kim. He was playing Misty, kind of like this. Like that. He was doing great. And I said, how did you figure out those chords? Because for one thing, he told me that he was a bass player and new to the piano. And he said, well, it took me some time, probably a few, months or whatever. I've been just figuring out those chords because I don't really read music and I'm trying to understand theory. And anyway, when he got to the bridge, it kind of crumbled. He said, I haven't really learned that part yet. I was like, okay, so you're playing some really good notes, sevenths, ninths, adding a 13th, like almost all the time when you're playing major chords, dominant chords. It's all sounding really, really good. But I wonder if you could just, and then he cut me off and he goes, if you asked me to just play a B flat 7 chord, I couldn't do it. He's like, it would take me a little bit of time. But something about, that having the tune, the beautiful jazz ballad Misty, had forced him to be able to, every time he came to that B flat 7 chord, he could play it because of how it fit in the song and he knew it was going to sound good and all of that. But just to play a voicing for a B flat 7 chord right on the spot, he couldn't do it. So I said, let's make it even more simple. Can you just go through the tune and with your left hand just play bass notes and with your right hand play the 3rd and 7? Okay, he said. So, he played that first bass note, E flat, and his right hand played a D and a G. And then the next chord was going to be B flat minor 7. And he slowly figured it out, but his hand jumped way down here. And he did this, and then when he had to figure out the next chord, which is E flat 7, his hand jumped way up here. And then it jumped down to here for the A flat major. And he was getting them, but it was taking him quite a while. And I thought, oh gosh, we've got to go back for you. It's really cool that you're playing this tune and you've got a lot of talent because you figured it out. But Jazz Piano 101 really is to be able to play the 3rds and the 7s of all chords. And in particular, to be able to make your way around the circle of 4ths, playing 2-5-1s. With just 3rds and 7s. It's kind of just bare bones jazz piano. And I wanted to make sure that I showed you guys how to do that. I do have a video called Ella's Rootless Voicing Game, Dice Game. And it's a fun video, but it's kind of intermediate. So I know I have plenty of intermediate videos, and I thought I had some beginning videos, but I just realized that I skipped a step. So I would recommend kind of doing the exact same thing we're doing with Ella's Rootless Voicing Dice Game, but simplified. And I'll tell you how to do that. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is talk about the 3 flavors of chords we're going to be dealing with today. And that's a minor chord, a dominant chord, and a major chord. Minor chord, we're going to start with D minor. That's how you're used to playing it. But for our exercise, and for most of jazz in general, it's so helpful to just learn to play the 3rd and the 7. So, there's a D minor 7 chord, we take the 3rd, we take the 7. So that it stays nicely in the middle of the piano, I'm going to put it right here. Okay, 3rd, 7. Now we've got a G7 chord. That's our next chord, a dominant chord. We're going to take the 3rd and 7 of that chord, right there. There they are, the 3rd and the 7. And when we play a dominant 7 chord, we flat the 7. So even though G major sounds like this, when we play a dominant chord or G7, we just flat that 7 so that it's a whole step away from the octave. We take the 3rd, we take the 7, and that's the 3rd and 7 of G dominant or G7. Now the next chord we're going to deal with is C major. C major 7. So we're going to take the 3rd, and we're going to take the 7, and there we have it. Okay, so there was our first 3rd and 7 of D minor, right? Here was our 2nd one. Here was our 3rd one. This was G7, this was C major 7. Now why have I chosen those two? It's because of the 2-5-1. The 2-5-1 is like this. In root position. And we find it everywhere. Look at me, I'm as... Here is one. G minor. Helpless as a C7. Kitten up a F major. Tree. They happen all over the place in jazz, so it's really important to be able to navigate your way through 2-5-1s. It'll help you forever in your future. So there's just a simple exercise that I do. Here's your 3rd and 7 of D minor. So what we're going to do is, actually, I think in order to keep it in the middle of the piano, I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to put it here. No, let's put it up high, because when we play this exercise, you'll see we're just going to be going down and down and down and down. So we're going to start here with D minor. We're going to play the root with our left hand, D. Right hand, we're going to play the 3rd and 7. Now, when we change to a G chord, G7 chord, all that's going to happen is we're just going to move this note to this note. And now we have it. You see that? That's the 7 of G, and that's the 3rd. So it's a really easy motion between D minor 7 and G7. Now to move to C major 7 to complete our 2-5-1, we've already got the 7 of C. We just have to move this down a half step. It's really nice voice leading. If you had to sing one of these notes, it would be really easy to do. Try this one. Or the top one. Really easy to hear, really easy on the ears. So after we've done that much, now what I like to do is to move the whole thing that we just did down a whole step from where we started. So we started here, right? I like to move the whole thing down a whole step. So this one's going to go to here. D minor becomes C minor, right? And these two go down a whole step. And now we're going to do the exact same thing in the key of B flat. So we've got C minor, F7, and all we have to do is lower the top note. F7, now all we have to do is lower the bottom note. B flat major 7. You see how that worked? So we were up here at D minor, and we did it. Now we do C minor. Now to get from C major to C minor, all we're going to do is lower these a half step, both of them. The E to there and the B to there. So E flat and B flat. And then we just follow the same pattern. Lower this one a half step, lower this one a half step. Now we're going to do it again. We're going to do B flat minor. This will be a 2-5 in the key of A flat. So B flat minor, all we do is we lower these by 2. Now this one gets dropped. Now this one gets dropped. Now, we haven't talked about the left hand much. What are we doing there? We're just playing... Key of C is where we started, right? We play the 2, the 5, the 1. You see that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 5, 1. Then this becomes the 2, because we're dropping everything a whole step. 2, 5, 1. Now this becomes the 2. 2, 5, 1. Does that make sense? Now I'm just going to do the whole exercise. Set your metronome. You're going to have to go much slower than this at the beginning. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, this puts us right back where we started. In the key of C, right? So what that did was take us through 6 keys. We went through C major, B flat major, A flat major, G flat major, E major, and D major. 6 of the keys, because we're moving in whole steps. Now, if we'd like to hit the other 6 keys, all we have to do is go back to the beginning, and we can just raise it a half step. That way, what key are we in? What is this the 2 of? We go down a whole step. There it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's the 2 of D flat major. So now we're going to cover D flat major, B major, A major, and so on. So to start that, we do just like this. Same thing. Now we lower the top one. Now we lower the bottom one. Now we lower them both a half step. We can do the exact same thing in the other 6 keys. Does that make sense? Good. And when you start to get fast at it, you know, make your metronome go a little faster, and give yourself a nice drum beat too. You can, you know, put on some brushes or something with the Drum Genius app, and just play your exercises. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, thanks for doing the exercise with me. Now don't forget, if you want the worksheet, this one right here, you gotta go to my website, click the card above my head, and you will be taken right there so that you can have it for yourself. It takes you through all of the 12 keys, just like I did. We go through 6 of them, and then we go through the other 6 of them. Don't use the worksheet as a crutch, not for too long anyway. You can use it until you feel like you've got the feel of it, but then I really want you to be using your brain. I want you to be, you know, thinking, now we go down a half step because that's the 7, it changes to the 3rd. In fact, you should be talking to yourself, otherwise you're gonna get lost. Probably gonna sound a little bit loony while you do it, but this is how I would do it. I would be like, okay, this is D minor 7, this is G7, this is C major 7, because we're in the key of C major. Now we're gonna flat the 3rd and the 7 because we're in the key of B flat major. You just talk your way through the whole thing. Otherwise, there's a really good chance that you're gonna get lost, which is exactly what happened to Ella, right? Back to that video. That's why Ella made up the dice game. The dice game would work well with this as well. After you kind of get them in your fingers a little bit, then you can quiz yourself, making sure that if I were to say, what are the 3rd and 7 of F sharp dominant 7, you could just do them real quick. That'll be your goal when you're done with this. This is the place to start, you guys. If you're gonna start playing jazz piano, this is what I would tell anybody. Start learning your 3rds and 7s, start learning your 2-5-1s. So I hope you had fun today. Thanks for being here with me on Aimee Nolte Music. Don't forget to press the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.